She was 7 months pregnant, lying alone in a mansion worth millions, wondering why wealth couldn't buy her husband's presence on a Friday night. Have you ever felt invisible in your own marriage? Does your partner disappear every weekend with excuses that don't add up? Drop a if you know what it feels like to be married and completely alone. 3 a.m. The Charleston waterfront estate stretched around Vanessa Hartley like an expensive tomb. Marble floors, chandeliers that cost more than most people's cars. A bed big enough for 4 people but occupied by one pregnant woman staring at the ceiling. Trevor's side was cold. Again. 7 years of this. Every Friday evening, he'd kiss her forehead. Mechanical, obligatory. And leave for executive meetings in Columbia or Greenville. Sometimes Atlanta. Always somewhere that required the entire weekend. His phone would go straight to voicemail. If he answered, his voice would turn sharp, clipped. "I'm busy, I'll call you back." He never did. She'd learned not to ask questions. The first time she did, he'd shouted so loud the wine glasses rattled in their cabinets. The second time, he'd raised his hand, stopped himself, but the threat hung between them like smoke. "You have everything at home to eat. What more do you want?" What did she want? Maybe just to feel like a wife instead of an expensive piece of furniture. Their intimate life had died slowly, once every 4 months if she was lucky. When it happened, it felt like checking off a list. No eye contact, no tenderness. Just him taking what he needed and rolling over, already reaching for his phone before his breathing steadied. She remembered their last time, 3 months ago. She'd tried to make it feel like it used to. Candles, that perfume he once loved. He'd barely looked at her. Finished in minutes. Left her staring at the ceiling just like now, feeling used in ways that had nothing to do with her body and everything to do with her heart. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Facebook Messenger. Bridget Williams. They'd been close in college, lost touch after graduation. Bridget worked at the Palms now. That luxury hotel in Myrtle Beach Trevor mentioned sometimes. Said he stayed there for conferences. The message was simple. Terrifying. "Vanessa, I'm sorry. I wish I had told you this earlier about your husband, but..." Her hands trembled as she typed back. "But what? Please, Bridget. Tell me." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then a video file downloaded. 15 seconds. Security footage timestamp. Last Friday, 8:47 p.m. Trevor walked through the Palms lobby. Tailored suit, confident stride. That smile he used to give Vanessa before indifference replaced it. A blonde woman in a red dress met him at the elevators. She kissed him. Not a greeting. A claim. His hand slid down her back. Possessive. Eager. They stepped into the elevator together. Vanessa's vision blurred. Not from tears. Those would come later, or maybe never. From rage so pure it felt like ice in her veins. What would you do if you discovered proof your spouse had been lying all along? The file size alone told her everything. 100 gigabytes of her husband's weekend business meetings with women who weren't wearing business attire. Bridget's next message came through while Vanessa sat frozen. One hand on her pregnant belly, the other gripping her phone hard enough to hurt. "My husband manages the security systems here. When I saw Trevor's name in the registry, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I extracted everything. Vanessa, I'm so sorry." The download took 7 minutes. 7 minutes of Vanessa watching the progress bar while her entire life rearranged itself in her head. 100 gigabytes. Not one mistake, not one weak moment. A pattern, a lifestyle. She opened the folder. Dozens of clips, organized by date. Bridget had been thorough. May 12th. Trevor entering with a brunette. Outdoor cameras catching them holding hands in the parking lot. June 3rd. Different woman. Redhead. Same elevator. Same floor. July 22nd. Another blonde. Trevor's hand on her thigh in the hotel bar, visible through the window. Then the hallway footage. Him unlocking room 418, the suite he apparently kept reserved. Different women, different weekends, same room. Bridget hadn't included the footage from inside the rooms. She didn't need to. Vanessa's brain filled in those blanks with images that made her stomach turn. Not from pregnancy, from betrayal. I should have told you years ago, Bridget wrote, but I didn't know how. I'm telling you now because you deserve better than this. Years ago. This had been happening for years. Vanessa watched clip after clip in the darkness of her bedroom. Screen glow made her face look ghostly in the mirror across the room. She looked like a stranger to herself. The footage showed Trevor with passion she'd forgotten he possessed, laughing, touching, looking at these women like they mattered. He hadn't looked at her that way since their honeymoon. The contrast was surgical in its precision. With them, alive. With her, obligated. Would you want to know? Or would ignorance be easier? Comment below. Vanessa set down her phone, picked it up again. Not to call Trevor, that would be pointless. He'd lie. Gaslight. Make her question what her own eyes had seen. No. She called someone with real power over him. She called her father. Trevor Hartley didn't know his wife's maiden name carried weight, the kind that could crush empires built on lies. Roland Pierce answered on the second ring. Vanessa? It's 3:30 in the morning. Daddy. Her voice cracked on the word. First sign of emotion breaking through the ice. I need you to tell me something. Pierce & Associates still handles all of Trevor's insurance policies, right? Silence. Then, every single one. Property, vehicles, business assets. Why? Because I'm about to destroy him, and I need to know you're with me. She heard movement. Her father sitting up in bed, instantly alert. Tell me what happened? She told him about the footage, about 7 years of weekend disappearances, about feeling invisible in her own marriage while living in a house that cost $8 million. Roland Pierce had built his insurance empire from nothing. Started with one office in Columbia, grew it into the largest independent firm in South Carolina. He was a man who understood power, how to wield it, how to recognize it in others, and how to destroy those who hurt his daughter. How long have you known something was wrong? He asked, voice controlled but dangerous. 2 years, Vanessa admitted. I found a credit card statement he'd hidden. Charges from hotels, restaurants in cities he said he'd never visited. I came to you, remember? Asked you to look into his business dealings? You said you were worried about his company's stability. I lied. I was looking for proof of what I already knew. And you found it, didn't you? The financial irregularities, the missing funds. Roland exhaled slowly. He's been embezzling from his own company, moving money through offshore accounts. I documented everything, but you told me to wait. Said you weren't ready. I wasn't pregnant then. Now I am. Now I'm ready. She heard pride in her father's voice. What do you need? Freeze everything, every policy, every asset. Make it look like fraud investigation, because it is fraud, isn't it? Multiple counts. He's been funding his lifestyle, those hotel rooms, those women, with money stolen from his own investors. Tag someone who had your back when you needed them most. Vanessa's mind was crystal clear now. No tears, no hesitation, just cold strategy. She'd spent 2 years building this case. while Trevor was too busy cheating to notice his wife was documenting every transaction, every lie, every suspicious transfer. She wasn't just a trophy wife. She was Roland Pierce's daughter, and she'd learned from the best. A memory surfaced, early in their marriage, when Trevor still touched her like she was precious, when his kisses felt real instead of obligatory, when he'd made love to her like she mattered. That man was gone, if he'd ever really existed. "Do it," she told her father. "By Sunday morning, I want him to wake up to a nightmare." Her phone buzzed. Another message from Bridget. "I can get you into his hotel room. He's there now." Vanessa's hand rested on her pregnant belly, protecting what mattered, preparing to walk away from what didn't. By Sunday morning, Trevor wouldn't just lose her. He'd lose everything. While he slept beside his mistress, his pregnant wife walked into the room and left behind more than a ring. She left him his reckoning. Saturday night. Vanessa drove to Myrtle Beach in Trevor's other car, the Mercedes he barely used, too busy driving his Porsche to his weekend escapes. 2 hours on dark highways, her belly pressed against the steering wheel, phone GPS guiding her toward the Palms. Bridget met her in the parking garage, hugged her carefully, mindful of the pregnancy. Room 418. He checked in 3 hours ago. Same woman from last week's footage. "Your husband could lose his job for this," Vanessa said. "Some things matter more than jobs." Bridget pressed the keycard into Vanessa's palm. "Make it count." The hotel was quiet at midnight. Couples in the lobby didn't look at the pregnant woman heading toward the elevators. Why would they? She looked like someone visiting family, not a wife about to end her marriage. 4th floor. Thick carpet muffled her footsteps. Room 418 at the end of the hall. She used the keycard. The lock clicked green. The suite was dark except for light from the bedroom spilling into the sitting area. Expensive. Romantic. The kind of room Trevor had stopped booking for Vanessa years ago. She moved quietly. Not from fear, from ceremony. This moment deserved silence. The bedroom door was half open. Trevor lay on his back, one arm thrown over his head, naked under silk sheets. The blonde woman from the lobby footage curled against his side, her red dress discarded on the floor like it didn't cost what most people made in a week. He looked peaceful, content. Vanessa felt nothing. No jealousy, no pain. Just cold recognition of truth she'd been avoiding for years. She set her wedding ring on his nightstand. 7-carat diamond platinum band. He'd proposed with it on a beach in Fiji, back when his eyes still lit up when she entered a room. Next to the ring, she placed a letter. 1 paragraph. No explanations needed. "You chose this. Now live with your choice." Her hand rested on her belly. 7 months pregnant with his daughter. A daughter who would grow up knowing her mother had the strength to walk away from wealth, from comfort, from a man who'd stopped seeing her as human. Have you ever had to walk away from someone who didn't deserve you? Share your story. The contrast was brutal. Trevor naked, satisfied, his mistress draped across him like a victory. Vanessa fully clothed, dignified, reclaiming power she'd surrendered piece by piece over 7 years. She took one last look, memorized this moment, not for pain, but for proof. Proof that she'd survived, proof that she was stronger than the woman who'd accepted crumbs and called it marriage. Then she walked out, closed the door softly, rode the elevator down alone. Her phone lit up as she reached her car. Roland's text. "It's done. All policies frozen. He'll wake up to a nightmare." Vanessa started the engine. Drove toward Charleston, toward a house that had never felt like home. By morning, it wouldn't be hers anyway. Nothing would be his either. He woke up expecting another Sunday morning lie. Instead, he found the truth waiting on his nightstand. Trevor's eyes opened to sunlight, cutting through hotel curtains. The blonde, Ashley, Amanda, was already awake, scrolling her phone, sheet pulled up to cover herself. He felt good, satisfied. Another perfect weekend away from responsibility, from Vanessa's questions, from the pregnant wife who'd stopped being interesting years ago. Then he saw the ring. His brain stuttered, tried to make sense of it. Vanessa's wedding ring, on his nightstand, in his hotel room. Next to it, an envelope. What the hell? He sat up fast, heart suddenly racing. Ashley looked over. What's wrong? He didn't answer. Grabbed the envelope with shaking hands, pulled out the single page inside. 10 words that ended his world. You chose this. Now live with your choice. Vanessa's handwriting, neat, final. No, 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 no. He was already reaching for his phone, fingers clumsy, dialed her number. Straight to a message. The number you have called is not accepting calls. Blocked. Trevor? Ashley touched his shoulder. He flinched away. Get dressed. You need to leave, now. What? Why? Now! She scrambled for her clothes, that red dress suddenly looking cheap in morning light. You're insane, she muttered. But she was moving fast, sensing whatever this was. She wanted no part of it. Trevor barely noticed her leave. He was staring at the legal notice that had been under Vanessa's letter. Pierce and Associates Insurance. His insurance company. Vanessa's father's company. All policies frozen pending fraud investigation. His properties, his cars, his business assets. Everything insured through Roland Pierce. Everything now locked down. What's the first thing you'd do if you woke up to this? Comment below. He threw on clothes, not caring that they were yesterday's, that they smelled like Ashley's perfume. Called his assistant. Voicemail. Called his lawyer. Voicemail. Sunday morning. Nobody working. Just Trevor, alone, watching his life collapse in real time. He drove to Charleston, breaking every speed limit. Hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Mind racing through scenarios, excuses, explanations. She'd forgive him. She had to. 7 years of marriage. That meant something, right? The waterfront estate looked the same from outside. Pristine. Perfect. Empty. He knew it before he opened the door. Felt it in the silence that greeted him. Vanessa was gone. The kitchen island held divorce papers. Not a draft. Not a threat. Filed. Official. His signature line waiting. He tried his bank accounts on his phone. Frozen. His business accounts. Frozen. His investment portfolio. Frozen. Every asset he'd built. Every dollar he'd accumulated, locked behind investigation holds, fraud alerts, legal freezes. One name appeared in every document. Roland Pierce. The man whose daughter Trevor had been ignoring for 7 years while he cheated his way through Myrtle Beach. The man who apparently held the keys to Trevor's entire empire. Trevor sank onto a kitchen stool, mind finally processing what Vanessa had done. She hadn't just left him, she dismantled him. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered without thinking. Mr. Hartley, this is Pierce & Associates. We need you to come to our offices tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp. Mr. Pierce wants to discuss your policy situation. I strongly suggest you bring legal representation. The line went dead. Trevor sat in his empty mansion, the mansion he apparently no longer owned. And for the first time in 7 years, he cried. Not from regret, not yet, from fear. He stormed into Roland Pierce's office like he owned the world. He left knowing he owned nothing. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. Trevor walked into Pierce & Associates wearing his most expensive suit, the one that usually made people nervous. Today it felt like costume armor, impressive from a distance, useless up close. Roland's secretary didn't make him wait. "Mr. Pierce is expecting you." The office was corner suite, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Columbia. Roland sat behind a desk made of wood that probably cost more than Trevor's first car. Late 50s, silver hair, calm eyes that missed nothing. "Sit down, Trevor." Not Mr. Hartley. Trevor, like he was a child being called to the principal's office. "What the hell is this?" Trevor slapped the legal notices on the desk. "You can't just freeze my accounts. That's illegal." "Actually, it's completely legal when fraud is suspected. And we suspect a lot of fraud, Trevor." "I want my wife back. I want to talk to Vanessa." Roland leaned back in his chair, studied Trevor like he was a bug under glass. "My daughter gave you 7 years. You gave her humiliation. Weekend after weekend, hotel after hotel. Did you think nobody would notice?" "That's between me and Vanessa." "No." Roland's voice went cold. "When you married my daughter, you made it my business. When you humiliated her, you made it my business. When you stole from your own company to pay for your affairs." He opened a folder, slid it across the desk. "You made it very much my business." Trevor's hands shook as he opened the folder. Bank statements, offshore accounts, wire transfers he didn't remember making, receipts from hotels, restaurants, jewelry stores, all traced back to his company accounts. "I didn't save it." Roland pulled out another folder, thicker. "Your wife documented everything, every transaction, every lie, every woman. She's been working with me for 2 years while you were too busy cheating to notice. 2 years. While Trevor was in Myrtle Beach with Ashley, Amanda, whoever. Vanessa was building a case against him. Should consequences match betrayal? Tell me what justice looks like to you." "She was planning charity galas," Trevor whispered. "She was planning your downfall, one bank statement at a time. My daughter is smarter than you ever gave her credit for." Trevor's mind raced back through 2 years of marriage. Vanessa asking casual questions about his business. Him brushing her off, annoyed she was bothering him with details. She hadn't been bothering him. She'd been investigating him. Roland mentioned Trevor's extracurricular activities with barely concealed disgust, reducing affairs that had felt like conquests into pathetic transactions with women who disappeared the moment his money did. "What do you want?" Trevor asked. Roland slid one final document across the desk. "Your wife documented everything, every transaction, every lie, every woman. You're not just losing your marriage, you're losing your company." The document was a buyout agreement. Pierce & Associates acquiring Trevor's AI consulting firm for pennies on the dollar. Legal, binding, already approved by the board Trevor had been ignoring for months. "You can't do this." "I already did. Sign it or face federal fraud charges. Your choice." Trevor looked at the man across from him. Father who protected his daughter the way Trevor should have protected his wife. He picked up the pen. While he thought she was planning charity galas, she was building his downfall, one bank statement at a time. 2 years earlier. Vanessa sat in her home office, the room Trevor called her hobby space, staring at a credit card statement that didn't make sense. The Palms Luxury Hotel, Myrtle Beach, $847. Trevor had been in Atlanta that weekend. Business meeting. That's what he'd told her. She called the hotel. "I'm trying to confirm my husband's reservation from last month." "Trevor Hartley?" "Yes, ma'am. Suite 418, 2 nights. Would you like to book the same suite for your next visit? Atlanta was 4 hours from Myrtle Beach. Wrong direction entirely. She'd been wrong before, made excuses, convinced herself she was being paranoid. Not anymore. Vanessa called her father that afternoon, met him at his office, showed him the statement. "I need to know the truth," she told Roland. "All of it." "Are you sure?" "Sometimes knowing is worse than wondering." "I'm already living in worse. I just need proof." The investigation started small. Roland's team looking into Trevor's business accounts with Vanessa's permission. She was still listed as authorized on everything. Trevor had never bothered to remove her. Probably forgot she existed outside of being decorative. They found discrepancies within a week. Money moving through accounts that shouldn't exist. Transfers to offshore holdings. Nothing huge, nothing obvious. But there. Consistent. Hidden. "He's embezzling," Roland told her after the first month. Not much, but enough to fund a lifestyle beyond his salary. Vanessa remembered confronting Trevor about his late nights once. His rage, his threat. His hand raised like he might actually hit her. She'd submitted then, apologized for questioning him. Now she had power he didn't know about, knowledge he never suspected she'd gather. "Have you ever let someone underestimate you while you planned your exit?" Drapa. For 2 years, Vanessa played the perfect wife. Attended his business dinners, smiled for photos, asked innocent questions about accounts and transactions, documented everything, every hotel receipt, every suspicious transfer, every weekend he disappeared. She waited, built her case, prepared for the moment she'd need it. Then she got pregnant, and everything she'd buried came to the surface. Present day. Savannah. Vanessa's small apartment overlooking the historic district. News played on her laptop. Tech billionaire Trevor Hartley's company under investigation for fraud. Assets frozen, investors fleeing. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then did. Trevor's voice, broken in ways she'd never heard. "Please, we need to talk." He went from billionaire to broke in 72 hours. But losing his fortune wasn't his biggest regret. Trevor's penthouse apartment, the one he'd moved into after Vanessa took the Charleston house, looked the same as when he'd signed the lease. Expensive furniture, city views, everything a successful man should want. Empty. His phone buzzed constantly. Investors demanding answers. Business partners distancing themselves. Lawyers calculating billable hours. The news ran his story like entertainment. Tech billionaire's empire falls amid fraud allegations. Photos of him looking arrogant at charity galas. Videos of the Charleston mansion. Speculation about offshore accounts and weekend disappearances. The women disappeared faster than his money. Ashley blocked his number. Amanda never returned texts. The redhead from June, he couldn't even remember her name, posted on social media about dodging bullets with laughing emojis. They'd wanted his money, his status, his power. When those evaporated, so did they. Do people show their true colors when money disappears? Share your thoughts. Trevor sat on his king-sized bed, the bed he'd shared with disposable women who'd made him feel young, desired, important. Now it was just cold sheets. He thought about Vanessa, how she'd felt beneath him during their last time together months ago, how he'd barely looked at her. Finished quickly, rolled over already thinking about his phone, his next meeting, his next escape. She'd deserved better. He knew that now. Knowing didn't fix anything. His lawyer called. "Trevor, we need to talk about the charges. The evidence is..." There's a lot of evidence. I know. Did you actually embezzle from your own company? I don't know anymore. Maybe? I moved money around, funded things I shouldn't have. But some of these transactions... Trevor pulled up his laptop, looked at the files Roland had shown him. I don't remember making these transfers. What do you mean, you don't remember? These offshore accounts, these wire transfers, I didn't create these. His lawyer went quiet. Are you saying someone else had access to your systems? Trevor opened his company records, started searching, found encrypted files he'd never seen before, digital trails that didn't match his usual patterns. Someone else had access, Trevor said slowly. Someone set me up. His embezzlement might have been a setup. But by who? She built a life from the ashes of her marriage, not with revenge, but with purpose that burned brighter than any betrayal. Savannah's historic district bloomed with spring flowers. Vanessa pushed a stroller down Bull Street, her daughter, Emma, sleeping peacefully under a canopy that protected her from the sun. 6 months since she'd left Charleston. 6 months since she'd seen Trevor. 6 months of rebuilding herself. The Hartley house sat on a quiet street near Forsyth Park. 3-story building, renovated with money from her divorce settlement. Foundation for women escaping emotional abuse, shelter, counseling, legal help, job training. Everything Vanessa had needed when she was invisible in her own marriage. Women came scared, beaten down by words, if not fists. Left stronger, employed, free. You changed my life, one woman told her last week. I didn't know I could leave until I saw you do it. Vanessa had cried, not from sadness, from purpose. What would you build from your pain? How would you turn betrayal into purpose? She'd started dating again, carefully. A lawyer she'd met through foundation work. He took her to dinner, listened when she talked, touched her hand across the table like she was worth the gentleness. They'd been intimate once, just once. Vanessa had cried after, not from pain, but from remembering what it felt like to be touched with actual affection, to have someone look at her face during, not avoid her eyes, to feel wanted, not tolerated. He'd held her while she cried, asked if she was okay, waited for her answer. So different from Trevor's mechanical encounters that had left her feeling empty. Today was the Foundation's official opening ceremony. Ribbon cutting, local news coverage, community members who'd supported the project. Vanessa stood on the front steps, Emma in a carrier against her chest, scissors in hand. She looked up, saw him at the back of the crowd. Trevor, thinner, beard gone, wearing jeans and a button-down instead of his usual expensive suits, holding a manila envelope. Their eyes met across a space filled with women she was helping, women who'd survived men like him. He didn't smile, didn't wave, just stood there, waiting. Vanessa cut the ribbon. Crowd applauded. She gave her speech about dignity, survival, starting over. All while Trevor watched from the back, patient, different. After the ceremony ended, he approached. Careful, respectful distance. Vanessa, can we talk? 5 minutes. Please. She should say no, should tell him to leave, should protect what she'd built. But something in his face stopped her. Not desperation, not entitlement, genuine fear. 5 minutes, she said, in my office. He showed up not to beg for forgiveness, but to prove they'd both been played by someone neither suspected. Vanessa's office was small. Desk, 2 chairs, window overlooking the garden where Foundation residents grew vegetables. Trevor sat across from her, the manila envelope between them like a bridge or a bomb. I'm not here to ask you to take me back, he said first. I know that's done. I destroyed that. I know. Then why are you here? Because we were both set up, and I can prove it. He opened the envelope, pulled out documents, financial records, digital forensics reports, emails with headers showing IP addresses that weren't his. Someone else had access to my company systems. They created offshore accounts in my name, made transfers that looked like embezzlement, set up wire transfers to hotels, restaurants. Your affairs were real, Vanessa interrupted. I have video proof, Trevor. You can't explain that away. I'm not trying to. I cheated, that's on me, all of it. But the embezzlement, the fraud charges, someone framed me for that part. He pushed the documents toward her. Look at the dates, the amounts, the patterns. This isn't how I move money. Vanessa studied the papers. She'd spent 2 years learning Trevor's financial patterns. These transactions were close, but off. Like someone copying handwriting, good enough to fool most people, but not someone who knew the original. Would evidence of being set up make betrayal forgivable? Or do his affairs still damn him? Who would frame you? She asked. Someone who benefits from both of us being destroyed. Someone who could access my systems and your father's company. Someone close to both families. Trevor pulled out another document. Employee access logs from his company servers, crossed with visitor logs at Pearson Associates. One name appeared in both places, regularly, for 3 years. Vanessa's hand trembled as she read it. James Kirkwood, her father's business partner, the man who'd known Vanessa since she was 16, who'd given advice about her wedding, who'd touched her shoulder at company parties, touches she'd dismissed as friendly. Kirkwood had motive, Trevor said. He wanted my company, used my affairs as distraction while he planted evidence. Made it look like I was stealing to fund my lifestyle. Positioned himself to buy everything when it collapsed. Vanessa felt sick. The trail pointed to someone she trusted, someone at her father's company. We need to tell my dad, she whispered. Already tried. Kirkwood threatened him, said he'd expose Roland's past business practices if we pursue this. What past practices? Trevor met her eyes. I don't know. But it's bad enough that your father backed down. And Roland Pierce doesn't back down from anything. The office felt smaller. The foundation she'd built, funded partly by her divorce settlement, partly by her father's guilt, suddenly seemed built on unstable ground. Everything she thought she knew was shifting. The enemy wasn't the mistresses or the lies. It was the person who planned the destruction from inside the family. Vanessa called her father from the foundation office. Trevor sat across from her, documents spread between them like evidence at a crime scene. Daddy, we need to talk about James Kirkwood. Silence on the other end, long enough that Vanessa knew Trevor was right. What did he tell you? Roland finally asked. That Kirkwood framed him? That Kirkwood wanted Trevor's company and used the affairs as cover while he planted evidence. Is it true? Another pause. Come to my office. Both of you. Don't tell anyone where you're going. They drove to Columbia in Vanessa's car. Trevor in the passenger seat. Emma asleep in her car seat behind them. Strange how normal it felt. Like they were still married, still a family. They weren't. Would never be again. But for 2 hours, they existed in temporary peace. Roland waited in his office after hours. No secretary, no witnesses. James Kirkwood has been my business partner for 20 years, Roland said without preamble. He wanted Trevor's AI firm 3 years ago, made an offer. Trevor refused. I don't remember that, Trevor said. Because I handled it. Told James to back off. Apparently he didn't. Roland pulled out his own files. Digital forensics, access logs, financial trails. Kirkwood had access to both companies. Used his position at Pearson Associates to gather information on Trevor's business. Created fake offshore accounts using Trevor's credentials. Planted evidence of embezzlement. Made it look like Trevor was stealing to fund his affairs. Who do you trust when everyone seems capable of betrayal? Comment your answer. Trevor's affairs were real, Roland said, looking at his daughter. But the financial crimes? That was James. He positioned himself to buy Trevor's company cheap during the collapse. Would have worked too if Trevor hadn't found the encrypted files. Vanessa felt sick. You've known this how long? 2 weeks, since Trevor first contacted me with suspicions. Why didn't you tell me? Because James threatened to expose my past business practices if I pursued this. Things I'm not proud of. Things that could destroy everything I've built. Vanessa remembered company parties over the years. Kirkwood's hand on her shoulder. His compliments that felt slightly wrong. His attention that made her uncomfortable, but she dismissed as friendly. Not friendly. Predatory. What past practices? Vanessa demanded. Roland looked older suddenly. Tired. Insurance fraud. 25 years ago, early in my career, nothing violent. But I inflated claims, manipulated assessments, built my company on money I shouldn't have touched. James knows because he helped me do it. Trevor's business, the empire Roland had helped destroy, was partly built on Roland's questionable connections from those early days. Everything was connected. Everything was compromised. So what now? Vanessa asked. We let him win? Let him destroy both families and walk away? If we expose him, I lose everything too, Roland said quietly. Vanessa looked at her father, the man who'd protected her, supported her, helped her escape. Also a man who'd built his success on lies. She thought about the Hartley house, the women she helped, the foundation built on truth, on dignity, on refusing to accept abuse. How could she run that foundation while protecting lies? We expose everything, Vanessa said. James, you, all of it. Vanessa, no. We expose it all, or we're just as bad as the people we claim to fight. Sometimes the people we defend aren't innocent. They're just better at hiding their sins. Roland sat behind his desk. The office that represented 25 years of success suddenly looked like a museum of crimes. You understand what you're asking? He said to his daughter. I could lose my license. The company could collapse. Your foundation. We'll survive because it's built on truth, not money stolen 25 years ago. Vanessa's voice was steel. You taught me to be strong, to fight for what's right. Were you lying, or did you mean it? Are people simply good or bad, or are we all shades of gray? Share your perspective. Roland told them everything. How he'd started his insurance company with money from fraudulent claims in the 90s. How Kirkwood had been his partner in the scheme. How they'd gone legitimate years ago. But the foundation was dirty. Trevor's business? Vanessa asked. I helped him get started 10 years ago. Introduced him to investors. Some of those connections came from my early days. Not illegal, but not clean either. Trevor looked devastated. My entire company was built on your fraud. Partially. You had talent, drive. But yes, some of your early success came from my connections. Vanessa processed this. Her father, flawed, complicated, human. Trevor, a cheater who'd been partially framed. Kirkwood, predator who'd exploited everyone's weaknesses. Nobody was innocent. Nobody was purely guilty. We still expose it all? Trevor asked Vanessa. She looked at Emma, asleep in her carrier. Her daughter would grow up in a world where Vanessa had chosen truth over comfort, justice over protection. We expose everything. Let the consequences fall where they fall. Roland nodded slowly, proud and terrified in equal measure. You're stronger than both of us. I learned from you, Vanessa said. The good parts and the bad parts. Now I get to choose which lessons to keep. She could protect her father's legacy or demand accountability. She chose the harder path. Federal Courthouse, Columbia. Vanessa walked in carrying Emma and evidence that would destroy 3 lives. Kirkwood's, Roland's, and what remained of Trevor's reputation. Would you sacrifice family reputation for justice? Where's your line? She testified first. Laid out everything. Trevor's affairs, real, documented, inexcusable. The embezzlement, fabricated by Kirkwood, using access to both companies. Roland's past insurance fraud, old crimes, paid for by success, but still crimes. The prosecutor looked overwhelmed. Ms. Hartley, Ms. Pierce, you're implicating your own father? I'm telling the truth, all of it. That's what justice requires. Kirkwood was arrested that afternoon, let out in handcuffs, still insisting he'd done nothing wrong. Investigators seized records from Pierce and Associates. Roland faced ethics investigations, but no criminal charges. Statute of limitations had expired. Trevor's fraud charges were dismissed. The embezzlement evidence fabricated, but his affairs became public record. His reputation destroyed not by lies, but by truth. In the courtroom hallway afterward, Trevor approached Vanessa carefully. Emma between them like a reminder of what they'd created before destroying it. I know I don't deserve it, he said. But can we talk? Not about us, about our daughter. She deserves a father who's actually present. Vanessa looked at him, really looked, saw a broken man trying to rebuild himself, not for her, for Emma. Supervised visits, she said. Weekly. You prove you're serious about being her father, not my husband, not my friend, but her father, and we'll talk about more. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just show up, every week. No excuses, no disappearing. You get one chance, Trevor. Make it count. Co-parenting with the man who destroyed your marriage means choosing your child's needs over your justified anger. 1 year later, Trevor showed up every Saturday at 10 a.m. Never late, never canceled. Brought age-appropriate toys, not expensive guilt gifts. Sat on Vanessa's living room floor playing with Emma while Vanessa worked in her home office. Can you co-parent with someone who betrayed you? How do you separate past from present? They established rules, respect, honesty, accountability. Trevor attended parenting classes, started therapy, rebuilt a smaller business. Legitimate this time, no questionable connections. Their communication was awkward but functional. Text messages about Emma's feeding schedule. Emails about doctor appointments. Brief conversations at handoffs that never strayed into personal territory. One Saturday, Trevor handed Emma to Vanessa after his visit. Their fingers touched, brief, accidental. Old attraction flickered, then died. They both felt it. Both recognized what it meant. Some doors close forever. Some bridges burn completely. Some endings are actually final. She's walking now, Trevor said, stepping back, putting distance between them. I know. I see it every day. Vanessa adjusted Emma on her hip. You're doing good work, Trevor, as her father. Keep it up. That's all I want to be now. Her dad. Not your husband, not your anything, just her dad. Good, because that's all you get to be. Emma's first birthday party happened at the Hartley house. Community event. Families from the foundation. Vanessa's new boyfriend. The lawyer who touched her with gentleness, who showed up consistently, who proved intimacy could exist without indifference. Trevor attended. Brought a practical gift, savings bond for Emma's college fund. Stayed appropriate distance from Vanessa, left after cake without drama. Vanessa watched him play with their daughter. Saw genuine love there. Genuine effort. She felt something unexpected. Not forgiveness. That was too much to ask. But peace. The kind that comes from accepting what is instead of mourning what should have been. She didn't need the ring back to know her worth. She learned it the moment she had the courage to leave it behind. 3 years after the divorce. The Hartley House annual gala filled the historic ballroom in downtown Savannah. Women Vanessa had helped stood beside her, employed, educated, free. The foundation had expanded to 3 locations, helped over 200 women escape emotional abuse. Vanessa wore a dress that made her feel beautiful without needing anyone's approval. Her boyfriend, partner now really, stood beside her, hand on her back, present, attentive, proving every day that love without respect is just pretty prison, and she'd chosen freedom. Trevor attended as a donor, genuinely changed but separate. He'd rebuilt his business smaller, cleaner, paid his debts, became the father Emma deserved. Emma, 3 years old now, happy, loved by both parents in different homes, played with other children in the corner. Proof that broken marriages don't have to mean broken children. This story isn't about forgiveness. It's about choosing yourself. If this resonated, hit subscribe for more stories where women reclaim their power. Comment below. What would you tell your past self about knowing your worth? Vanessa danced with her partner. He looked at her face while they moved, touched her with reverence, whispered things that made her laugh. So different from Trevor's mechanical encounters, from feeling invisible while living in luxury. She'd learned her worth the hard way, through betrayal, through heartbreak, through the choice to walk away from millions and toward dignity. The ring stayed in that hotel room in Myrtle Beach. Some jewelry store probably sold it. She didn't know, didn't care. She never looked back. Because the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building a life so good, so full, so completely yours that the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant. Trevor watched from across the room, saw what he'd lost, understood finally what he'd thrown away. Vanessa didn't notice. She was too busy living.